Hi everyone, this is Samantha Furlow and I'm excited to have you come back here to week 4. I know that Miranda Lucas had opened us up and I'm excited to continue off of what she had already told us about growing up. So we are going to go into the 6 different growing stages that our kids go through while growing up. For the first part of this lesson, you are going to want your yellow books. This curriculum breaks up the stages of growing up or the stages of development into 6 different stages. The first one is birth to 6 months. The second one is 6 months to 18 months. The third one is 18 months to 3 years. The fourth one is 3 years to 6 years. The fifth one is 6 years to 12 years. And the sixth one is 12 years to 19 years. I want you to take a minute and notice something that the first 4 stages all encompass. They all take place within the first 6 years of life. And then the other 13 years of adolescence and growing up take place over just 2 stages. So this tells me that a lot of growing up is happening, a lot of development is happening during those first 6 years, which makes it really, really important that we know what our developmental goals are, what our milestones are, and how we can best support our kids, because those first 6 years are so full of so much learning. So I want you to turn into your yellow book, and I want you to go to worksheet 4.1.4. Now, when you're looking in your book, this over here, the one that my mouse is on all the way at the right of this screen, that's going to be the first page you see in the packet. As you can see right here where I circled, it says page 1 of 3. So you're going to look through your yellow book and find this stage 1, birth to 6 months, worksheet 4.1.4. If you need to pause this video while you find it, please do so. Now I have them put into this different order because I actually think it makes more sense to go through the definition of what that stage encompasses and to learn some encouragements before we fill out the worksheet. So once you found that worksheet 4.1.4, I want you to flip it to the second page in the packet. It's going to look just like this. So it's going to say ages and stages. Each of our stages are broken up like this. So stage 1 is being. That happens from birth to 6 months. Stage 1 is about deciding to be, to live, to thrive, to trust, to call out to have needs met, to expect to have needs met, to be joyful. These decisions are important throughout our lives. So in that stage 1, here's a list of some typical behaviors that our little stage 1ers are going through. So one typical behavior is that they cry or fuss to make needs known. Another typical behavior is cuddling. Another is making lots of sounds. Looks at and responds to faces, especially eyes, and imitates. Did you know that when a baby is born, they can start imitating almost immediately? One study showed that babies will respond to a tongue sticking out sometimes the first moments of their life, which is really, really interesting to me. The second section shows jobs of the child. These are developmental tasks. In the last lesson, we learned about how growing up happens in stages, and each of those stages has these jobs that each of our children have to go through. And then for each child job, there's a parent job that is matching it, that helps that child get through that task and on to the next one. So some of the developmental tasks or jobs of this stage are to call for care, to cry or otherwise signal to get needs met, to accept touch, to accept nurture, to bond emotionally, to learn to trust caring adults and self, to decide to live and to be. Then the third category is jobs of parent. So the parent has some jobs that are going to help our kiddos get on to that next step. So the parents' jobs are to encourage the child for doing developmental jobs, to provide loving, consistent care, to respond to the infant's needs, to think for the baby, to hold and look at the baby while feeding, to talk to the child and echo child's sounds, to nurture by touching, looking, talking, and singing, to get help when unsure of how to care for baby, to be reliable and trustworthy, and to be consistent in caring for the baby. Now, there's also some unhelpful parental behaviors that parents might engage in during this stage, and these are the things we don't want to do. Not responding to the baby's signals, not touching or holding enough, being rigid, angry, agitated with our responses, feeding before the baby signals it, punishing the baby, lack of healthy physical environment, lack of protection, including from older siblings, criticizing the baby for anything, discounting, shaking the baby, yelling or screaming at a baby, withholding love or attention from the baby, exposing the baby to domestic violence, and exposing the baby to drug or alcohol-affected parents. So now that we've learned a little bit about what this stage entails and what tasks we need to be looking for and how we need to respond to them, here's some of those encouragements that Miranda had read to us earlier. So some stage 1 encouragements are, I'm glad you're alive, you can grow at your own pace, you belong here, you can feel all of your feelings, what you need is important to me, I love you and I care for you willingly, I'm glad you are you, and then there's space for you to fill in one that maybe you like to say. So now that we've done all of that, now we can flip back to page 1 of 3 and we can fill this out. So you can fill it out with me exactly as I filled it out, or you can put in your own responses. So this says stage 1, birth to 6 months. Typical parenting challenge from birth to 6 months. Crying, crying, and more crying. So the first question says, if a parent did not understand that the baby was working on a developmental job. So this is how we're gonna answer this as if we hadn't read that page that we'd already read. So if I'm a parent and I don't know that they are working on a job when they're crying, crying, and crying, I might think, so this says, what might the parent think? I might think that I'm not taking care of the baby right, and that's why they're crying all the time, or maybe that there's something wrong with the baby. So I'm still a parent that doesn't know that they're working on a developmental job. And so how might I feel? Well, I might feel rejected. I might feel inadequate. I could feel frustrated, and I could be embarrassed. Now, I'm still a parent that doesn't know that this is a developmental task, and so what might I do? I might cry. I might yell, maybe yell at the baby, And I might self-isolate. I may not want to ask anyone for help because I'm embarrassed, because I feel inadequate, because I feel rejected. So now I've gone to Parenting Inside Out class, and I learned that children have developmental tasks or jobs for each stage, and that I have a matching job. So now that I know that, and now that I know that crying is my child learning to signal and to calling out for care and to help to build that bond between the caregiver and the baby, now I'm going to answer these questions. So if a parent does understand that the baby was working on a developmental job, what might they think? Well, I might think that my baby is trying to communicate a need, and that's why they're crying, crying, crying. This is the only way they know how to get their needs met. And so what might that parent feel? I could know this, and I could still feel frustrated. I might feel really tired. Maybe I know this. It doesn't stop the fact that they're crying, crying, crying so much, and I'm so exhausted. And I might feel like I am out of ideas. I have gone through the basics. I've checked the diaper. I've tried the feeding. I've tried the rocking. I've tried the burping. I've tried wrapping them up in their favorite blankie, and nothing is working. I don't know what else to check. And then what might this parent do? Well, since I know that it's developmentally appropriate for them to cry and cry and cry for their communication, it doesn't take away the fact that I still feel this frustration or this stress. And so since I know that this is normal and I know that my feelings are valid, I may tell myself it's time to take a break. I may tell myself it's time to ask for help. And I may tell myself that I might want to get ideas from other parents or professionals. So then question 3 says, what developmental job might a baby be working on by crying? You may list more than one. So communicating their needs is one job that child might be working on, and learning to trust the caregiver is another one. Every time the baby cries out and communicates that they have a need, and I then respond to that need, it's building synapses in the baby's brain that is telling, that is helping to grow that bond between myself and the baby. So list several parent jobs when a baby cries. Well, one of my jobs is to respond, is to address needs. It's to ask for help when frustrated or feeling hopeless. So it is my job that I reach out and ask for help when I'm feeling these feelings. And then write an encouragement the parent can say to a crying baby. And so the one that I liked was, what you need is important to me. So if you're not quite done, go ahead and pause the video before moving forward. So next we're going to move on to the next stage of development, and this is also in our yellow book, and it's worksheet 4.1.5. And just like before, we're going to start on the second page of the packet. So again, this is packet for stage 2. This one over here where my mouse is all the way on the right, this is going to be the first page in the packet. And we're going to turn this page and start on page 2. So stage 2 is doing. It's from 6 months to 18 months. The doing stage is a powerful time. It is important for the child to learn to trust others, to trust that it's safe and wonderful to explore, to trust his or her senses, to know what he or she knows, to be creative and active, and to get support while doing all of these things. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to learn about some typical behaviors of the child. So a typical behavior is to taste, smell, and touch everything. Any parents of little toddlers and babies ever wonder, why are they putting all of these things in their mouth? That's so gross to put their toys in their mouth, put their foot in their mouth, put their whole hands and arm and wrist slobbering all over them in their mouth. It's developmentally appropriate. This is what they're supposed to do. It's actually considered a typical behavior. They put everything in the mouth. They're curious. They're very easily distracted. They want to explore on their own, but be able to touch base with caregiver at will. Needs to know caregiver is still there. They start playing patty cake and peekaboo and other games like that. And they start using words during middle or latter part of the stage. So when my child starts developing words, I know that they are getting to the middle or end of this stage. So my child has some tasks during this stage. One of their jobs is to explore and experience the environment. Now, this is something that causes a big use of our energy, as any of us with toddlers knows. And so we have to remind ourselves that it's their job. They're supposed to do that. It's part of healthy brain development. Another job is to explore their world using all of their senses, to signal needs to trust others and self, to continue forming secure bonds with parents. And again, one of the ways they're doing this is that they're allowed and encouraged to step away and explore and be independent, but also be able to come back to you when they feel they need to. Another job is to get help in times of distress, to start to learn that there are options and not all problems are easily solved, to develop initiative, and to continue tasks from stage 1. So now we have some parent jobs. Our parent jobs are to encourage child for doing developmental tasks, continue to offer love, provide a safe environment, protect a child from harm, continue to provide food, nurturing touch, and encouragement, to say yes twice for every no, to provide a variety of sensory experiences, massages, music, peekaboo and patty cake, pots and pans, blocks, soft toys, toys that make noise for child, to schedule a time for play, to narrate the child's behavior. Emma is looking in the mirror. To repeat back sounds child makes, to talk to child a lot, to respond when child initiates play, to follow child's lead in play, and to take care of own needs. So here's some unhelpful parent behaviors. Failing to provide protection, keep child in playpen or crib a lot, criticize or shame child for exploring or for anything, really. We don't want to criticize or shame them at all. Punishment, it's not developmentally appropriate to punish our child when they're 6 months to 18 months. They do not have the brain capacity to understand why they are being punished or what it is they're supposed to gain from that punishment. All they are going to interpret it as is being mean or hurting me or causing fear. They will interpret. They have no ability to use it as a behavior management technique. Expects child not to touch precious objects. We cannot expect our 6 to 18-month-old to know what they can or can't touch, no matter how many times we tell them not to. To expect toilet training. When a child is in this stage, they are not to be expected to be toilet trained. That doesn't mean that there haven't been times that children in this age range have become toilet trained, but to expect it would not be appropriate. And to tell child what not to do. Don't run. Instead, we need to tell them what to do. Walk inside, please, or my favorite is to say walking feet. So here's some encouragements. You can explore and experiment, and I'll support you and protect you. You can use all of your senses when you explore. You can know what you know. You can do things as many times as you need to. You can be interested in everything. I love you when you are active and when you are quiet. I like to watch you initiate and grow and learn. So now that we've learned all of this about stage 2, we're going to flip back to the beginning of this packet, to this page, this work page that's all the way on the far right, that says stage 2, 6 to 18 months. So the typical parenting challenge from 6 to 18 months, getting into everything while exploring. So again, if a parent does not understand that the baby toddler was working on a developmental job, that's the mind frame I want to have when I answer these questions. What might that parent think? Well, I might think the child is disobedient because I've told them not to. The child doesn't listen to me because I keep telling them no. I put them in timeout or whatever. I use a stern voice and they just are not listening. And that the child likes to make me mad because I have told them not to over and over and over again. What might that parent feel? Well, I might feel frustrated. I might feel rejected. I might feel angry. I might feel hopeless. Oh, I wrote angry again. And I might feel inadequate. What might the parent do? I might yell. I might punish the child, and I might self-isolate because I'm embarrassed or ashamed or whatever else. If a parent did understand that the baby toddler was working on a developmental job, so now I've taken PIO class, and so I've learned that, oh, every step of development has jobs. And so now I know that the child is working on a developmental job in stage 2. So now what might I think? I might think the baby or toddler is developing normally because this is what they're supposed to do. I might also think exploring means their mind is growing. What might the parent feel? I could still feel frustrated, even though I know that it's a typical job, I can still feel that frustration. I might be tired because they have much more energy than I do. I might feel confident that the child is going through stages on time. So what might that parent do? I might provide a space the child can explore without the risk of exposure to danger. So recognizing that this is a developmental job and that they're supposed to do this and that they need to do this in order for their brain to grow, does not fix the fact that I'm tired always running around after them, always grabbing dangerous or breakable things out of their hands when they go on to explore them. And so instead of always running behind, I really need to find a place in my home that I can baby-proof in order to give them an area that they can just explore without me always going behind them, grabbing things back up from them because they're in danger, and telling them no all the time. And I can be creative with this. I know that all homes and living spaces are different. A house that I lived in not too long ago had all tile floors and was heated only by a wood stove and was not easy to baby proof at all. So instead, I maybe can choose one room in the house that I can make safe. Maybe I don't even have a single room in my house that I can make safe. Maybe I can be creative and my hallway I could install some baby gates into and put their toys along in there so that they have that area that they can just explore without me always being behind them. Number 3, what developmental job might a baby or toddler be working on by getting into everything? List more than one. To explore and experience their environment, to explore with all 5 senses to build trust with caregivers. So what are my jobs as a parent when the baby or toddler are getting into everything? It's my job to encourage the child's exploration, to provide a safe environment, and to say yes twice for every no. So that means if I had to take something away or say no, I need to find ways that I can provide more yeses before I give more no's again. Write an encouragement the parent can say to a busy baby or toddler. You can do things as many times as you need to. I chose this encouragement because for me, I know that it can sometimes be maddening building that same block tower for the 30th time in 5 minutes for it to just get knocked down. But it's important that we remember that this is really important for the developing brain. And so this encouragement is going to be positive for my baby and also going to be a reminder for me that this is an important part of learning a new skill. So there are 4 more of these, and I'm going to have you go through these on your own. If you have questions, please let your parenting coach know, and we'd love to support you and help you walk through it together. But if after these 2 examples you feel confident filling out stage 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 on your own, we would love for you to do that. And I am going to end this video, and we will talk again soon on my next one.